Hi, this is Sierra from Flow, and in this video we're going to be talking about all the different chart types. So right now we're on scatter plot. So just to give you a brief overview of what that looks like is you can choose up to 3 dimensions. So you can have just width here as a timeline, and then you can add height, and then you have a sort of a 2D chart, and then you can add depth, and then you get the full 3D chart. So for each of the axes, you need to specify a column in your data set, and I'll tell you a couple of types of columns, types of data that work well for each of these axes that we generally like to show. So on the width axis, because we perceive time a lot of times time going from left to right, like a typical timeline. Time is easy to visualize, so having a date time on this width axis is nice. And then height is usually good for numerical values, and then depth is usually good for categorical values. So you can make line charts, area charts, etc. with this type of setup. You can also change. Well, let me go back. So that being said, that's not an end-all be-all. You can totally have a categorical value on the y-axis, and I do encourage you to experiment. So that's just a general guideline if you're feeling like, I don't know what types of columns go where, but please experiment. So anyways, back to chart size. So these width, height, depth, that just controls how large the actual chart is. So if I increase this width, you can see it increases, the height, the same thing, and then depth as well. So sometimes if you have a lot of values on the depth axis, you'll want to make that a bit bigger and have it be able to be maneuvered around in space. So you can set the domains here, the minimum year that you're going to include for your width, and then the maximum. And something else is the axis is timeline. So what we generally encourage you to do is follow an ISO date format for your date values in your CSV file, and then we offer the availability to customize how you want to format that to appear to the end user in the editor. So we have lots of different options here, ranging from month, day, year, to year, day, month, or year, month, day, to just the day of the week, month, short, year, etc. So there's lots of customization there, but you just kind of have to know that it's a post data editing thing. So that's kind of a little explainer for scatterplot clustering. There's a few different options you can do here. Bubble clustering, so this is essentially if some of your dots have the same value, so they're appearing at the same place in space, and they're kind of like all on top of each other, and you want to show them clustered basically. So you can do that in bubble cluster, which is a random clustering, and you can choose which axes you want to use that take into account the clustering. So for example, let me turn this back into a 2D chart. And if I had bubble and then I use the X and Y axis, then if I had any points that were exactly the same here, they would cluster in a bubble format. There's also directional, which allows you to specify the axes used and the offset per value. And column clustering is similar, but you can choose the horizontal and vertical spacing of those, as well as the points per column. So lots of customization for clustering. And let's move on to, let me go ahead and add a new step. And we'll look at categorized columns. So you have to choose a category. For example, let's turn this on. We're choosing country, so it plots each the the number of occurrences of each row. So each row is a dot, so the number of dots in each category. And then you can control a lot about this, like the spacing between the points themselves, how many points are in each column, so how wide each column is going to get, the gap between each of them. If you want to put them throw them into a circle, you can totally do that as well, and you get this cool effect where you can center the camera in the middle, and then wherever you look is, data all around you. So there's that, and then you can choose if you want it to be rotated and displaced in a certain way, and you can sort them, and there's a lot in here about sorting. So let's see, you can sort by category, sum or count or alphabetical of a certain column. So we can do sum of, or maybe let's do sum of population. So the most populated are going to be in ascending order. And then you can sort by subcategory as well, where you can sort by maybe country in ascending order. Or, let's do life expectancy, ascending order. Great. And then now you can choose if names face the camera or not. So, if the names of the columns are always going to be facing you. There's also more you can do here in category options, where you can control what the font is, the size, the color, the alignment, and the positioning of these labels at the bottom of these categorized columns. All right, next is mapping. I did talk about this in the maps video, so if you want more information on maps, feel free to check out those videos. And then the last would be random. So this just randomly puts the dots in a cube, essentially, and you can change the size of the cube in a similar way that you can change the size of the chart. But this is a nice way to start sometimes. You're immersed and you can say, welcome to the world of data of, whatever your topic is, where each dot is, and then you can make that comparison. So random can be used, and that's pretty helpful sometimes. You can also set random to 0 for all of them, right? And then you have just one location in space where all of your data is collected. So then if I move, this is particularly helpful for animation. So if I move to the next step, all of the states then animate out. So that can be nice to show different animation techniques. You can use this null values in random and achieve some pretty cool things. So yeah, I think that's about it for different chart types. There will be an article that is associated with this in our help center, and the URL for that will be in the description. So if there's anything I missed, it will be in there. So appreciate you guys watching. Yeah, I'll see you on the next video.